Hello again. Today, being a miserable wet afternoon, I've decided to play in the workshop again, and I'm going to talk about homemade burglar alarm systems. A very simple system here. I have several outbuildings and they're all protected by a very simple loop alarm. It doesn't matter what system you employ. There's some very complicated ones here on YouTube of tripwires, pressure mats, laser beams, motion sensors, goodness knows what. But if you break all systems down, there's three basic building blocks. We have a sensor of some description. So we start off with sensor. There's our sensor. It could be a mechanical, electrical, chemical, light, sound, heat, anything that alters in some form or another. And then watching this sensor, the next block is some form of monitoring or processor. So here we have a processor. Or processing, that'll do. The processing looks at the sensor, and if there's a change in circumstances, it decides whether it should act or do one thing or another. So the final block comes down to an alarm. This can be a bell, a light, some mechanical process. But it's just the three basic building blocks. And the most sophisticated burglar alarm system can be broken down to those three basic building blocks. So working on this, I'm going to keep it very, very simple. For the sensor, I'm going to use microswitches. Very, very cheap. I'll show some other forms of sensor incorporated, but as I say, these are very cheap and can be purchased. And if you've watched my videos before, you know I'm a lover of stripping down microwave ovens. Well, there's three in the door of every microwave oven. Two are in series to stop the microwave oven from working with the door open, save you cooking your hand. And usually another one after these two, should there be a failure, that actually shorts out the mains and blows the fuse. Talk about belt and braces. But anyway, I'm not complaining. These are single pole, single way, and sometimes you'll have single pole, two way. Very little force is needed to operate the switch. And I use these on window and door jambs on the inside to detect when the door is opened, and this sets off the alarm. Okay, here we have a Microswitch screwed to the surround of the inside of the door, and you can see the action of opening the door. You may even hear it click. Operates the switch, and it's the opening of the switch, the breaking of the circuit, that operates the alarm. Right, we'll proceed with the circuit. If the microwave switches represents our sensor, then the processing is a very simple affair of a transistor. There's the base, there's the emitter, there's the collector. The collector load, we have a relay to the rail. That's a typical relay, about 600 ohms, multiple connections on there. And I put all the components on top of the relay and just sellotape them together. That's the entire circuit. So there's our relay, which we would need a protection diode across to stop back EMF from zapping the transistor. The transistor can be any signal type transistor, BC108, BY51, something similar. Gosh, I'm showing my age now, aren't I? And that's our bottom rail. We have a biasing resistor, let's say 10k, 10 to 20k, that feeds to the base of the transistor. And then all our micro switches, being the sensors, are in series, however many you have to deck. And the breaking of any one of these means that instead of the base being held at 0, it's now fed by a positive rail, and the transistor switches on, operates the relay coil. The relay has a couple of connections. One will go, that's self-latching. And if we've got another pair, they will go to the alarm. Positive rail, negative. And I'm going to run this on a 12 volt car battery. Once the car battery is no longer fit for cranking the car over, it's good enough for an alarm like this, and it means you're independent from the mains. And I've got an old car battery sitting under the bench, donkey's years old. The quiescent holding current, the running current of this is so low, a milliamp or two, it's not worth worrying about. And I just occasionally charge up the battery once or twice a year. It's a very simple circuit, but Mr. Sticky Fingers isn't known for a high IQ, so this is more than adequate. Okay, a couple of refinements here. We can use micro switches on doors and windows, but when we've got glass, an entry can be gained with glass, you can buy tape like this. This is sold for people who do lead work, you know, stained glass lead work. It's self-adhesive, copper, very, very thin. And assuming that this piece of paper is a pane of glass, simply stick around the perimeter of the glass your tape back to this point, and this represents a switch. And if anyone breaks the glass, or just a crack across the foil, it opens the circuit and sets off the alarm. So that's a bit of an addition for glass. So far we've dealt with the alarm going off when they've gained entry to a building. Assuming, turn this that way around, assuming that's the edge of a door, that's the door, that's the frame, or the rest of the building. If we have a piece of wood with a hole in and a screw through the middle, in order for the door to be opened, you have to turn that out the way to open the door. That's obvious. But what's quite nice about this is the burglar has set the alarm off himself, because the piece of wood is hollowed out at the back and there are two magnets. On the other side of the wooden partition, or buried in the wood, is a reed switch, which represents the same as our micro switch, that when the magnetism is taken away, the switch goes open circuit and the alarm goes off. And it doesn't matter whether he cuts wires, comes with another magnet, or even knows what this is. He won't know where the magnets are, he won't know in what orientation they will be, and he won't know any other systems you may have in place. And he would have set the alarm off before he'd gained entry. I quite like this one. Ha ha. There will be some occasions when you don't want the burglar to know he's set the alarm off. And using a couple of old phones you can do this remotely. One phone can be wired up permanently on the battery of your boat. Put it on charge and then while it's on remove its internal batteries. That'll keep it on the network. Put in a cheap pay-as-you-go SIM card with some credit on. Providing you make a call every 2 or 3 months, you know, they won't cut you off the network. And it's a cheap radio system. Wire up a pre-designated number to phone a contact, which is nothing more than a switch. They only make switches. You've only got to do it once. So when the boat is broken into, for instance, it sends a message. The burglar won't know this. Attention, attention, your boat is being broken into now. And this will give you the opportunity to pop down to your mooring and explain the error of the guy's ways, or something like that.